it's Coach Tori, and this is Raising Runners. We will be talking about running, mental health, youth sport burnout, specialization in sports, motivation, encouragement, coaching, parenting, sleep, nutrition, really anything that you can think of that we as parents or coaches or just runners can do to help our young athletes. In today's episode, I get to talk with Shaun Pryor. He was such a fun person to talk to. We talk a little bit about his running journey. We talk about recovering from a heart attack in his 30s, the things he changed about his life and his health. We talk about his career as a firefighter. He also talks about training in mental health first aid and kind of just does some discussion about mental health and working with other people, whether it's with kids, adults, or just interacting with people in general. He gives some great advice and some tips there. He also schools me on sports. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm not a sports person. So he gives me a little bit of sports knowledge and introduces me to color commentating, which I can't believe I didn't know what that was. So that was really fun too. We have a great conversation. It was such a fun time getting to talk with him. I just rewatched our interview, and I think we both were smiling the whole time. His energy is just so great. So I thought this would be a super fun interview for probably the last Friday of the summer for most of us because school is starting and September is coming. So just some great fun Friday energy for you all. Enjoy. All right. So what I'm thinking is, because oftentimes when we talk about running, I have people talk about running and their whole running journey. But I don't think you're a runner, right?
I stopped running at the end of last year, and there's an interesting story. I am the happy big guy runner because I'm about 6'3". I used to be about 330 pounds, and I actually found out that I was diabetic because the heart attack was years ago, and that freaked me out. I hate needles, even though I was a firefighter. All of that, I didn't want to have to stick myself, and I am blessed to be type 2. So I didn't want to go beyond having to take a pill and have to be on insulin. So I was in a weird situation where I had lost my job, but things had worked out and I had a lot of time. And so I started walking my neighborhood, went from walking to running because I wanted to lose weight. And then I got on keto. I went from about 335 pounds and now about 285 because I started running. I take one pill of Janumet every day, and that is it. I was able to stop and beat diabetes, get my A1C down from 12 to 7. So I started running every 5K that I could find. I got all my cool medals in the other room I was so excited about. But yeah, no, I had to have this like awakening for my running journey, but now I have a damaged MCL. So I don't run as much, but it worked out because I just don't eat as much because after the keto thing, I lost the desire to go back to eating so much bad food. So it worked out.
Wow. So do you do anything? Because I know sometimes people start running and they get hooked on running. Do you do anything kind of to replace that as a different cardio thing or?
No, I have to think. No, I definitely did not. What I will tell you, if I'm being honest, and that's not totally true because of where I'm at. I'm in our third bedroom, which it's just an empty room. I have a treadmill, so it was replaced with a treadmill. If I'm being honest, which this chair is. So yes, I ended up getting a treadmill because we are having a insanely hot summer, and there is no way that I could survive in 115-degree heat running for long periods of time. So, but yeah, I got to a point where I was going like 4 miles a day, and that wasn't gonna happen.
Where are you at? I never even asked that.
Oh, you're good. I am in Deer Creek, Oklahoma. I am between Edmond and Guthrie, so I'm like outskirts of Oklahoma City.
Wow. Okay, so I know I've never been there. What does the landscape look like for running?
Flat. Very flat. Out here is kind of country, kind of city, which is pretty cool because you get some really nice views. I live right across the street from a horse stable, so it's pretty cool. But it is, it's flat, and the hills are very forgiving. It's more hills than Kansas, but not by much. I'll put it like that.
Okay, I can kind of picture what I think you're describing.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so you mentioned the heart attack, so let's
Mhm.
get into that if you don't mind.
No, I love it. I love the heart attack has been one of the biggest blessings of my life. It is weird to tell people. So I'm 40 years old right now. When it happened, it's probably 34 ish, somewhere in there. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I used to probably smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Along with that, I used to dip about a can of Skull a day. Along with that, and I ate whatever was not nailed down. I mean, I ate everything. I was a chubby guy, and I was happy. Um, so my family, I have a wonderful family, but we don't talk about the important stuff like health. My mom's had a few heart attacks. I didn't realize because my mom is adopted that my paternal grandmother also died of a heart attack, as did my grandfather and others. That's because they all had AFib. Unbeknownst to me, I also had uncontrolled AFib, but I also had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Um, so I have an enlarged heart, and I have kind of a thickening of the heart muscle, of that outer wall of the heart muscle. Of course, I had no idea. Couple that with, of course, with the AFib, and it was a recipe for disaster. I was always sweating, stuff like that. Didn't think anything of it. Heart was always racing. I always just told people it's because I'm fat. It's because I'm fat. That was my excuse. Um, One night, I was a single guy. I was alone. I was in my apartment, and I thought I was getting robbed because I had this heavy weight on my chest. I was going up into my left shoulder, on my chest. So I woke up just swinging my arms. I'm trying to fight whoever this is off me, and I realized there is not a soul there. And so I go to get up, and I'm like, "Whoa, like this hurts." I don't call 911 because I'm super hard headed. I kind of ride it out, fall back to sleep, laying in my floor, wake up a few hours later, and I end up going to the hospital, and I find out that I indeed did have a heart attack. Not long after, I was in the cath lab and surgery where I had cardiac ablation surgery, and I have a device implanted inside of my chest, which is actually a loop monitor, which records my heartbeat information, sends that back to my cardiologist so that in case things get out of whack, he knows he could say, "Hey, where are you dropping at?" so that I can send the bus. So pretty cool technology, pretty exciting. But yeah, that's what happened. And of course, obviously, I had to stop smoking after that, and, all that good stuff. So um, that's why I say it was kind of a blessing in that sense. At the same time, if I would have took care of myself, it would have been better. But yeah.
Yeah. So besides like those obvious changes, right? Like you said, you quit smoking and then at some
Mhm.
point you've changed your diet and all that. What is the recovery like? How was it challenging? I mean, getting back because you also had an active job, right? Or your
Yes.
first responder. Yeah. So what was that
Yes,
like?
yes, yeah. So I will first open with the fact that the number one killer of firefighters is heart attacks because we eat like crap. It is well known. You will find that everything from like elderly people to wonderful families, people bring snacks to the fire department constantly just to say thank you, just to show their kids, hey, it's good to volunteer. And we love it. And we will eat anything that is not nailed down. That said, most of those things are not healthy. Even crazier is, and I didn't think about this until probably about a year ago, as I was going through everything with the diabetes. If you're on a big fire, the Red Cross shows up every time, and we love it. We get so excited to see the little Red Cross truck. They set up, they help to take care of the family, and they bring food for the firefighters. And some local restaurant, they'll stop by, they'll grab us burgers or Arby's. There's always something. There's never healthy options. It's always just, and we are like just kids at the ice cream truck, man. We will take our turn, eat 2, 3 burgers, whatever, you're not washing your hands or eating soot. We all do it. And it's something that I had never even put thought into until probably just here recently because of everything with the diabetes. So it caused me to have to make a lot of changes and have to try to buck those stereotypes because that's just what we do, and it doesn't have to be what we
Well, yeah, like I'm just thinking, it sounds like so goofy, but like comfort food is
do. Hmm.
not a salad. It's not
Yep.
pretzel. I mean, even like pretzels, right? Like it's not anything healthy. Usually
Hmm.
it's we
Hmm.
get comforted by pizza, burgers,
Yep.
fries,
Yep.
mac and cheese, like, so yeah, it would seem weird to be like, oh, there's, a tragedy, an accident, or
Hmm.
all these people are, let's bring them some salad because that's what the
Yeah.
firefighters probably need, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Well, and also you work, I'm sure it was odd shifts. So like that can really mess with
Hmm.
what you want to eat. I worked overnight at one period of time and I think I only wanted to eat chips and chicken
Yep.
fingers and all that kind of crap at night.
Yep. Yep. Spot on. Spot on.
Wow.
It's just ingrained, I think, and it just comes with it. And again, like I say, that's something that's going to take time. I love the fact that, and again, I say this like I'm an old man at 40, but a lot of our new firefighters are like 18, 19-year olds, and it's great because a lot of them are into CrossFit and so much other stuff, and they take their health super seriously. It's not strange. The stigma is not there that it used to be a vegan or to be keto and so much of this other stuff. And so I feel like we're seeing a lot of these young firefighters who are making that change, which is really cool. And so I think that's something positive. You're going to have a lot of guys and girls that are going to be able to resist that temptation of, hey, I have to have a burger. They're going to think, hey, you know what? I can wait this out and I can get some granola, or I can make a better choice when I get back to the house. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no. And as soon as you said that, I was like, now actually I can picture, I used to do CrossFit at some point in my life, and we had a lot of firefighters that came in or police officers. Like it was a lot of those people. So, it's nice to see that that is kind of changing a little bit and making it easier. And you said you do, what is it, mental health first aid, or you work with people in crisis. Is that part of
Yes.
the firefighting, or is it something in addition, or?
So it was born from that. It was actually born out of the fire department. What happened was when the whole diabetes thing came up, all this other stuff, I was a captain at a fire department here in Oklahoma. And I knew that I needed to kind of take a step back, especially as a guy that's had a heart attack, and I didn't want to. But I needed to take a step back. I needed to concentrate on the diabetes thing, on my health, knowing that I've had a heart attack, knowing I'm not that old. I need to take this seriously. So that's when I made that pivotal decision to kind of take that step back, which was a good thing. It was hard, but it was a good thing. And but in that process, I didn't want to get totally away from the fire department. I didn't want to. That brotherhood is something that is irreplaceable. I think that goes for anyone. I don't care if you're military, police. It could be CrossFit. Just being around your tribe is everything because you got your like-minded family and you get it. And so I didn't want to lose that. And so what happened was, again, I had time on my hands, and during that time I thought, man, what can I do to be useful? Well, around that time, one of our EMS guys, he took his own life. He had died by suicide, and I was heartbroken. And because I live rural, there's a lot of these folks that live rural that don't have access to these mental health programs. They don't have access. There may be a chaplain, for example. But again, you go back to young people, a lot of younger people now are agnostic. They're not assigned to a certain religion. So you can't just hit them with a chaplain and they say, well, that feels good. That's fine. There are people that want a deeper level of discussion. And that's a beautiful thing. I love that. And so I was like, how can I positively affect this? So I got with the state of Oklahoma, found out that through all this CARES money, there was a program where they were offering completely free to make people mental health first aid trained. And so I was like, hey, I'd love to do it. I took the class. It took, I think it was like a week or two. And I did the first one was with youth, and then I did the next one with adult. And it went so well that they approached me and they said, hey, how would you like to be a national trainer? I was like, I would absolutely love it. So it gave me the opportunity to become a national trainer and to take that information to any place, which initially it was, hey, we'll take this to the fire department. We'll take this to the police department. And I have the ability to be able to train others on how to spot someone that could be in crisis, how to approach that conversation, without making them feel uncomfortable if that's possible. Someone who, it sounds terrible, but if there's someone who has said, I'm going to hurt myself, how to intervene in that situation as best you can so you can get more help. And so that was what it was born out of. Of course, since then, it's turned into just general because that's not something that you can really keep to yourself. That is good for all facets of life, kids, adults. It was really a blessing. I'm glad that I got with it. And yeah, it's used wherever.
So, wow. Okay. What kind of facilities did you or do you train? Just because, so I used to work in residential treatment facilities for behavioral
Mhm.
and mental health. And
Okay.
for some reason, and I don't know if it's just we don't have that much around in PA, but we were constantly, especially for like our mental health programs, looking for better crisis training for our direct care staff on how to manage them in crisis, because we have a lot of those like restraint techniques and those
Mhm.
kinds of things, but
Mhm.
we didn't have enough training for them in how we're going to talk to them, how we can help
Right.
bring them back, be more collaborative. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be able to share this with all of the people I used to work with. So
Yeah.
what kinds of places, I guess, did you work with or do you work with?
Mostly fire department. The rest of it really came down to just in the community at large. I'll say that's the best way I can put it, is the community at large. So everything from the Hope Center to any place where you can just call and just say, "Hey, do you have a need?" Ironically, the need is exactly what you just said. People that are like, "Hey, I'm not trained in how we bring this up. How do we do this?" And so that's where the opportunity would come in for me to say, "Hey, look, if you got a group of up to 25, well, we can do it over Zoom because of COVID, we do that." And so a lot of it turned into that exact thing. A lot of it was done via COVID, via COVID. A lot of it was done via Zoom like this. So I can't say that it was inside of certain facilities, but that's a lot of the people that do it, is people who I personally would never expect, because I'm like, oh, you're so well trained, you have this and that. But it's starting that informal conversation and how to approach it made it huge, especially during COVID and post COVID. So many people felt that sting of like isolation, that you found that there were so many people who just needed something, because they were becoming lost. And unfortunately, here in Oklahoma, I know we found a lot of people that unfortunately lost their lives in that battle. The battle with depression, just because they felt isolated. That's part of what gets you there. But then, you're so isolated that there's no one, you feel like you're alone and you can't do this. This is a big part of it, just having the ability to be able to sit down and talk with somebody via Zoom when someone's feeling empty and hopeless. And you're like, hey, just that upbeat conversation of what are you doing? I had somebody that told me that once. They said, just what are you doing? What's going on? How's life? And knowing someone cared was a game changer, because, they're like, hey, my mind was drifting off that way. But then I'm like, wow, somebody actually asked, and it's that's part of it, is having the uncomfortable conversation is how the whole class opens. Is everything is going to be uncomfortable, but it's how do you make it comfortable, as comfortable as possible. Let me say that.
Right. Can you, not to like make you go into your whole thing, obviously, but
Okay.
can you give a couple tips maybe on like how you could identify someone who, because I mean, obviously, like we all get sad, we all have bad
Mm-hmm.
days. We all, especially, with COVID, we felt isolated, but how do we see the people who are really struggling because they're not always reaching out? And then I guess I know like the suicide hotline recently just changed their phone number, but what steps should we who are not trained, like what should we be doing to help reach those people or get them the help that they need?
I think the most important place for me to start is safety. This is one of the biggest things that was pushed to us, and I push to everyone, is safety. If you are in a situation with someone who is in crisis and that's seen as not safe, you have to make the right decision. And I think a lot of people feel guilt in that sense of, if someone has a weapon, if someone is on the edge of a literal bridge, and you know that if you try to get involved, they may hurt themselves, you may get hurt yourself. You have to take the right steps. And so I open with that to any and everybody every time I talk about this, is safety, because as they used to tell us in training as firefighters, you're no good dead, right? You are there to make the save. And if you get yourself hurt in the process, you can't. So I open with that. And it's different with adults and kids. In our in our kids class, for example, it comes down to behaviors. And it's a lot easier when you have rapport with the kid. So if you're a coach, if you're a teacher, if you're someone who spends at least 2 or 3 days a week with a child, and you notice that change, that difference, and with kids, it's a lot easier, because kids, this sounds cliche, but kids aren't messed up by the world, in the sense that kids are not so guarded. Kids haven't been burned. Kids haven't, been divorced. And so for us adults, we can be way more guarded. With kids, you have a better chance of that honesty, depending on how many layers you can get through. And so having that open conversation of how you're doing, building that rapport, and then literally finding that time when they're separated and just say, hey, is everything okay? Because I don't know how many times I've seen someone literally physically break down from literally someone asking, looking at them, maybe just holding their hand and just saying, hey, are you okay? Because sometimes you've carried so much with you. When someone asks, you're like, oh my gosh. And so it makes a difference. And I would that's what I would say as far as kids go. With adults, again, safety. And from there, it comes down to literally, I know, for example, with coworkers, it's always said that it's about just having that discussion, but finding a way to have it where they don't feel singled out, where they don't feel objectified, where they don't feel like, oh my gosh, they're seeing me, oh, I'm acting crazy, because that's one of the big things is busting that stigma of crazy, that, I think and I hate that I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say it's like 3 and 4 people have battled depression at some point in their life. And it's taking away that stigma that depression and anxiety and all of that is not something to be ashamed of, but we've spent so much time in this country in years past demonizing it and making people think that C word crazy is so, when in reality, it's just life, you're just dealing with normal things. And so making a person feel comfortable in that normalcy, and it never happens all at once, unless that person is in active crisis. It comes down to, again, just building that rapport, almost like just building a relationship, a friendship. And eventually you're going to get it. Time is of the essence a lot of times, but it just depends on how far the person is. And trust me, this class takes 2 days to teach, and I can go on and on. But literally, the biggest thing I tell people is just, you would be shocked, and maybe you wouldn't, at how often they'll just saying, literally just contact with a person and legitimately looking at them and asking them, are you okay? Because you could be the first person in months that took that step to ask them if they're okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love that you kept it simple for us, because also like that, I mean, right? Are you okay? That's so easy to do. But also, like you're saying, you don't know if anybody has said that in the past, however long. So no, that's super helpful. Thank you for that. Shifting gears off of all the heavy stuff, because we got that out of the way first. So all right.
Yeah.
Moving on. You said color commentator
Yes.
of
Yes.
high school sports.
Yes.
How
Yes.
does someone go about getting that role, and what is that like?
So it's an accident that I fell into it. Total accident. My heart attack got me here. I had my heart attack. I quit smoking. I quit dipping. And my doctor gave me a pamphlet for this place called the Oklahoma Tobacco Helpline. And so I totally was just like, this is dumb. I don't need this. I love smoking. I love the dip. It makes me happy. But I called because I love living. And so I got with them and got help. I ended up taking Chantix, having horrible nightmares, but I quit smoking. That said, I ended up talking to somebody at the Oklahoma Tobacco Helpline. And the guy goes, you got a really cool voice. And I was like, well, thanks. I was like, I appreciate that. He's like, man, he goes, you ever done like radio or a commercial? And I was like, no. So that led to a trailer in front of my house, an entire studio full of people, and we filmed a commercial here. And then we filmed a radio spot, and people were like, wow, like, who is this guy? A friend of mine, who I didn't even realize, he owns a company called the Southern Sports Network. And one day, so I played football. I did karate for years. I transitioned into football, and then I ended up playing arena football for a few seasons. It was a blast. And so I knew this guy from the past, and he reached out. He said, I keep hearing you in my car on the radio. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting that a lot. He goes, listen, can you do color commentating? And I was like, for what? He's like, football. I said, I played. I mean, I know what's going on. We tried it out once. People loved it. And so that became my thing. So I literally fell into it. I don't have formal training. I just happen to be an old football player who has too much personality, and people get excited. So that's it.
Wow. Okay. So I run. I don't do any team sports. I don't watch team sports. I know nothing about team sports. So what are you just talking about what's happening? Are you like, yeah, I guess, what is it? So what does it sound like? I guess I should have looked that up before I started asking.
Oh, that's okay. So there's 2 of us that are in the booth, technically, right? 3 of us, I guess, if you count the engineer, right? So there's like the sound guy who's got the board doing all the goofy stuff. Well, you have the play-by-play guy. He's the one that's physically calling the play as it happens, and he's telling everyone, So, he's the guy that you're going to hear that's going to say, oh, hey, and he has, excuse me, he's the guy that's going to say, there he is. He has the ball. He's going down. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, touchdown. I come in afterwards, and so you know how like the little instant replay box comes up, and that's my opportunity to say, so if you look right here, this is at the point, you know, where he catches the ball, makes the juke, and then runs up, and I mean, look at that footwork, you know, that's what I do. So I add in the behind part. So he makes the actual call. I get to make jokes, quips, and stuff like that after the fact, you know.
So I imagine, and this is for high school, correct?
This is so with SSN. He's contracted to several high schools. He also has a couple of junior colleges, but they're in Arkansas. So I don't make those because I'm all the way here in Oklahoma, and I drive a little Camaro, and it's too far for a 6'3" guy to be driving in that car. But yeah, so a lot of it is high school sports here in Oklahoma. So
So I'm guessing, and again, like I said, I've never been to Oklahoma, so I don't know too much, but I'm assuming you take high school sports very seriously because I don't recall that ever being a thing at my school.
So here in Oklahoma, high school sports, depending on the town that you live in, is almost like a religion. People are so I am born and raised in Chicago, Illinois for the first like 18 years of my life. So came here to Oklahoma and haven't left. I love it because it's such a slower place. It's super cheap. Gas is like 3.60 a gallon right now, where everywhere else it's like 4 or 5 something. You know, it's great. So but here, because we just got the Oklahoma City Thunder a few years back, which is our first major sports team. Excluding that, Oklahoma, OU and OSU are like, that's like a religion. You pick a side. I'm actually a Texas Longhorn fan, but you know, here, you know, you pick a side. And outside of that, it's high school sport. People will pack a high school sports stadium and just, I mean, just from the heckling to the parents, it's insane. Like I've never seen anything like it. These fans can be absolutely rabid. They take it beyond seriously. So yes, big deal here, especially being in rural Oklahoma like I am, and some of these games are like, oh, wow, yes.
That was gonna be my next question about the fans and the parents, because you're also a football dad. Do you ever commentate on your son's team, or has that not happened yet?
That is not actually, that is a conflict of interest, and that is not allowed.
Okay, so I guess that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Um, so being a football dad, are you one of those Oklahoma football parents that you just kind of briefly described, or what is your parenting as a sports parent?
So this is hard. Um, I am definitely not, and it is very difficult. I have to almost glue myself to the seat. They are currently doing their practices and stuff, and of course, as someone who played, I just want to run out there and say, "You got to do it like this, man! Oh my God, you're gonna get run over!" You know, and I have to fight the urge, and it's really good for me to learn the patience and be relaxed. So I would internally, yes, I am that guy. Oh my gosh, internally I am. Externally, no. I am able to compose myself, and I just have to just know that it's his journey, it's not mine, and I respect the journey. And a lot of that is because of calling sports, you know, because I have to keep it fair. You know, I can't just call the same kid. You know, I got to call everybody and what's going on, and so I have to be fair to him in his journey, and you know, so
Well, that's what I was just thinking, is like everything that you do kind of all I feel like would conflict inside of you as a parent. Like I used to play football, so I know everything that's going on, but also I comment on this stuff. So like I have a professional opinion here, but then also I work in mental health. So like I know I can't be the crazy parent, right?
yep,
Like
yep,
I can only, especially then being in the crowd where everyone is being that parent, and you're
mm-hmm,
just like, great job.
yep, yep, correct. It's tough.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds tough. Well, before we wrap it up, I just wanted to, because I feel like there's probably so much about you I didn't even get into that I don't know. And do you have anything that you like definitely want to add? Because I feel like you kind of have a feel of what, where we're going with the
Yeah,
podcast and all that stuff. So anything
yeah.
you just want to throw out there that I missed?
Off the top of my head, no. I mean, we could do this for hours. We could do this for hours, but no. Off the top of my head, no. I, I, no. I can't think of it just at this second. I can't. I'm sure. Now you give it like 20 minutes, and I'll have all kinds of stuff. But
Also, I was
no.
like, I put you on the spot, and that's like so not fair. But
And no, it's okay. Trust me. You know what? And that goes back to, again, I wouldn't be comfortable with that if not for the color commentating thing, because I have no functional idea what's going to happen from day to day, right? I get there. I don't know if a parent is going to rush the field. So we also call semi-pro. These are older people. These guys, they get in the fights and they're crazy. So, it's just, you don't know what you're going to see. You don't know what's going to happen. Your whole job is to call it fair, don't cuss, and just, be professional. So in a case like this, it's fine. It doesn't bother
I actually just thought of one other thing I wanted to ask you, and then I am going to have to make us cut it off. But
me.
you said you played arena football. Is that
I
right?
did. Yeah.
Okay. So I barely know what that means, but that's like after college, usually like more in between NFL type stuff, or where is that at? And then like kind of, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So as far as arena, it really depends. And I guess when I say this, because the movie just recently came out, was filmed here in Oklahoma, the Kurt Warner story. I played in the same league as Kurt Warner. He was a quarterback for I want to say the Cardinals, but I feel silly because I don't remember that. But I didn't really care about Kurt Warner. No offense, Kurt. Um, but I played in the same league that he did, and he got discovered, and he went to the NFL. What happens with arena is you have guys that'll play semi-pro, and they'll bounce up to arena if they don't go to college. You have guys that play in college, and there's no NFL for them, as there oftentimes is, and they'll either jump on like a semi-pro team or they'll fall to arena. Arena is a place where you can get paid a little bit if you're lucky, but for the most part, you're out there to have fun. You're on a nice field, usually inside of a nice facility, with fans that are usually pretty nice and pretty rabid, but it's cool. It's a nice change. So I would call it a very nice triple A. That's what I would call it. I would call it a triple A is what it is for, not for the NFL, because I can't think of many guys that have gone to the NFL, but it's a triple A for whatever's next for you in sports. And so for me, I actually ended up finding out I was just too small, which is why I didn't end up staying. Your average O lineman is about 6'5", 6'6", about 390 pounds. And I'm just not big enough. I'm too short. I didn't weigh enough. And so, I was losing those battles on the inside as a nose guard. And I was a defensive tackle. And I was just getting run over by these guys that were younger than me and much bigger. So
Well, that's what I was going to ask, was how, it kind of ended, just because I know for people who, especially I think football is one of those ones where like your whole life has to be your sport. And then once it's done, I know people, not always, but like can struggle with like, what do I do with myself now? And I
yep.
can really get into that.
Fire department.
Well, then I was going to say, like, did you
Fire
probably just
department.
dive right into that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Fire
So
department.
full circle, it all
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
needed
Well,
that rush. I needed that something. I needed that, you don't know, what your play is, when you're on the field, but you don't know what they're going to do, and I was a defensive guy. So I don't know what the offense is going to dial up. I can look, I think I know, but I'm not exactly positive. But there's something about that rush. There's something about that excitement. I don't know. And the fire department was a natural progression, I think, because when the tones go off, you have no idea what that voice is going to say over the loudspeaker. You have no clue. And so it's so just, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And so, yeah, that was my natural progression.
no, that totally makes sense. All right. Well, now we do have to wrap it up, because I feel like we'll eventually get on a whole other topic, and then who knows how long it'll be. But thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
This was awesome. I feel like you had so much great information for us. That was really, really fun. And you do have a very cool voice. So whoever told you that, that was super true. So I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, I am glad if something that I said today helps someone, I did my job, because again, I used the Robin Williams reference, and I'm going to leave it with that. Robin Williams always said he was okay. He was always there for everybody, and nobody knew he was struggling. And that's why it's so important that we always ask those people around us, those that we love, those that we just see and we just wonder, are you okay? So
That was perfect. Well, I don't want to mess up the ending, because that was so great. So thank you so much again.
awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just want to thank Shaun again for his time and his information and his advice, his tips, and educating me on sports. It was such a fun interview, great conversation. Hopefully everyone else enjoyed it as much as I did. Shaun doesn't have any links for us today, so I am going to link the suicide hotline in there, as well as the NAMI website, just for some more information for people in regards to mental health. Thank you for tuning into Raising Runners. New episodes every Tuesday, and we are always looking to talk to people about running, mental health, or anything along the spectrum that can help our young athletes, or just talking to runners or parents and coaches of our young runners as well. Hopefully you find our resources helpful. If you have questions, comments, or anything else, feel free to email me at marikeyrunclub@gmail.com.